Start transmission. 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting to you live from the Static Clan compound, you are now listening to the Jaysin Static Experience, a podcast from an award-winning nobody, noted raconteur, Renaissance man, a man with a sailor's mouth, but he has never sailed, and who likes to talk about a cornucopia of topics. This podcast is brought to you by www.jaysinstatic.com, a place filled with all your pop culture antiques and collectible needs. And now your host, the one and only Jaysin Static. Intro time.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. Jaysin Static with the next episode of the Jaysin Static Experience. And today I have a guest who, fortunately, you all know already because he's been on the show 100 billion times. And most of you guys are probably subscribed to his YouTube channel already. Without further ado, the rise and grind picker, the big bass boat driving, big truck hauling guy. Everybody knows who he is. Shane Myers, rise and grind picker, YouTube sensation, Amazon seller extraordinaire, killing it on eBay, a man of many talents. Welcome, everybody, and welcome, rise and grind picker, Shane Myers, man. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Static. Thanks for having me on, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. So, this is a new thing that we're doing here. It used to be just live stream, man. We'd get on live stream and just sit there and talk, but it's a little bit different. Like I said, a little bit different, more of an interview-ish type stuff. What I wanted to do with this is to try to get a little bit into more about you, more so that you don't usually do on your show, your channel. Just dive deeper into who the rise and grind picker really is, and what's his goals and motivations, and what makes him grind like he normally does.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That sounds like fun, and hopefully I can give you what you're looking for.
Oh, I hope you do too, because we don't want this episode to be a flop. And if it's a flop, it's going to be your fault, not mine.
But yeah, man, I'm pretty open. Like, I'm usually pretty open to almost any question. Like, I'm pretty transparent in my business as well as on YouTube. So yeah, absolutely. Whatever topics you want to discuss, I'm down.
So, we'll just start at the beginning. What got you into the whole reselling game? Like, what was that thing that sparked it in your head that was just like, I'm gonna start doing the reselling game?
Well, so I started reselling on eBay in 2005-ish, and yeah. I was, I graduated high school in 2005. I'm only 32, so I turned 33 in July. So, I was just kind of reselling because I've always known about eBay. I had previously purchased stuff on eBay, and then, every time you purchase something, they say, they'll send you an email saying, oh, hey, back then, why don't you try selling on eBay? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I was just kind of casually selling stuff around my house. And for the most part, I really didn't take eBay too seriously. I just sold casually for a lot of years. And then about, I would say probably 7 or 8 years ago, I was in a corporate job. Actually, even before that, let me go back before that. So before that, I was actually working in a factory, and I was still pretty, early 20s, and I had gotten laid off. And so for a year, I actually bought storage units and sold stuff on eBay and locally. And then I got a job after a year, and just kind of went back to the workforce. So, and then after that, I was working in retail, and me and my wife, we needed some extra income because we were really, really in debt. And so I started about probably 8 to 9 years ago selling on eBay again, but it was kind of casually. And then, and then I went full time in reselling about a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago. And that was mainly thanks to Amazon.
Right. So what got you? So how long you been on Amazon now?
So my account's about 6 years, maybe 7 years old, and I actually have daily payouts on my account. So that's very, very rare. Most people don't have daily payouts. I don't use them, but if I ever needed to, I could.
Right. Okay. You said that you were in a corporate job. Do you care to talk about what type of corporate job that was?
Yeah. So I worked corporate retail for about 10 years, and I was doing mainly loss prevention, asset protection management. I would install covert cameras, try to catch employee stealing, interview the employees, and then prosecute them. And so I traveled all over the US doing that. And then my last company was with Target, and I was an executive manager with Target, and I was there about 3 years, and then they eliminated my position. Well, they were still going to keep me, and I quit. I put my 2 weeks in because they were going to basically transfer me, and I didn't get to pick where I wanted to transfer. They could pick any store in the United States. So I quit, gave my 2 weeks, and right after I quit that job, I put on my LinkedIn that I quit, and Save a Lot food stores out of St. Louis tried to recruit me as a regional manager, and I turned it down and walked away. $120,000 job. I walked away from it, took a crappy sales job for 30 grand, and I started building my Amazon business.
Oh, okay. I think a lot of people might, when you say you left 150,000 it was, some people might think that is crazy, to leave a job that's 150,000 a year to do to do 30,000 a year. A lot of people think that would be crazy, but me personally, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think I've told stories before that I left the job to where I was making $15, $20 an hour building windows for skyscrapers to come back to my hometown and do a restaurant gig where I only make $10 an hour.
Right.
But a lot of people don't understand it, that it comes to a point in time where you have to separate yourself from that point, especially if you have drive to do more and to be better in life. You gotta kind of take that rein and pull it back a little bit and bring it back to you instead of letting somebody else control those reins. You see what I'm saying?
Well, here's the one thing that I always kind of lived by. And when I first started in retail, I started with a company called the Bon-Ton Stores, which is Bergner's, Carson's, Elder Beerman, Yonkers, Hirschberger's. They have several nameplates. They were nationwide. They filed bankruptcy. They went defunct. Well, when I first started there, I worked there 5 years, and I ended up doing a lot of regional work there. I started as like a loss prevention supervisor in store and worked my way up to do like regional work throughout the region. And I had a boss there, and she said, I took this job. It was $10 an hour, and it was a supervisor job. It was in store. And she says, if you're really good at this, sometimes you need to take a step back in order to step forward.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I ended up going, to a very high position with a lot of big companies.
Right.
And then you realize, for me, the main thing I realized was, okay, so I've dedicated my life, been gone every Thanksgiving, every holiday, missed tons of birthdays. So when I started building my Amazon business, I realized maybe I just need to take another step back. And I did. And now I'm way farther forward than I ever was before.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying about, taking those reins, the reins of power within yourself as, what you want to do in your life. You have to pull those back and bring them back to you, take that step back in order to get to the place where you actually wanted to be in life.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And, you're from everything that you tell me, in our little private chat group that we have, you kill it. A lot of people kill it. And, it's amazing what people don't know, by being able to essentially control their livelihoods, by stepping away from what everybody thinks what you got to do. You got to have a 9-to-5 job. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to have the white picket fence. You got to, but there's so many people in the business of reselling out there nowadays that are, some are doing extremely well. Some are doing good. Some are just doing it for like myself. I just do it for what I call fun money.
Yeah.
All the money that I make on reselling gets put back into, it gets put back into my reselling thing, but it also gets put back into the podcast thing and anything else that I want to do that's, fun. I have my bill money, and then, I have my bill money that's for my normal job, and then I have my fun money that I use, with all the reselling thing. And I think a lot more people would be a lot more well off if they took control of the reins of their life and stepped away from the organized society as a whole.
Well, and I think some people
can't do it though.
Some people have to have a job because they're not meant to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. They're not meant to work for themselves. They're not meant to have their own business. And that's because it's mindset. And when I quickly learned this, so I went from starting an account on Amazon 6 years ago. I had it for a few years and just merchant fulfilled a little bit, to now, like, I'm in the top 10,000 Amazon sellers on Amazon. And the only other YouTuber that I know that's in the top 10,000 is Watch Me Amazon Larry Lebowski. He's a $20 million seller. So there's, I mean, I know a few other people that are, but most people on YouTube, they're not in that top 10,000. Yeah, they're not even ranked. But as well as, I think YouTube is a very scary place for people learning this, and I'll explain this later whenever we come to that topic. But the reason is you have people on YouTube preaching something they don't do. Right.
I can see that. I can see that. And that's one of the things, like, I built what little YouTube base that I have off the backs of, reselling, but I never actually really put out any kind of reselling content. I did kind of when I first started doing the antique videos and stuff like that, but I quickly realized that my space in the reselling community wouldn't be very good because I don't really have, I wouldn't say that I don't have knowledge in any of it, because I do, because, my grandfather, he was, an antique guys, and we'd go to auctions and storage auctions and stuff like that. And, just being with my grandpa and my father and stuff like that, so I have a little bit of knowledge in a lot of things, but I realized that my lane in the reselling community on YouTube in particular wouldn't be sufficient to what I actually wanted to do as a whole, because I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the knowledge that a lot of other people are actually looking for, like the getting into it and starting it, and the essentially all the behind the scenes type stuff. I don't have that knowledge because, I just never really dove too much into it. I have a little bit of it, but not enough to be sufficient and produce, daily content with it.
And I started doing this like on the side, like fun money, kind of like you.
Yeah.
And I just had a different vision. And some people, like, that's okay if they don't have that vision.
Right.
And that's what I want to say is, like, if you don't want to like run $1 million business, that's fine. Like, there's no one discrediting that. But you also have people on YouTube that say, I sell so much, I sell this, crazy amounts of stuff, and they don't.
Right.
And that's where it gets kind of the lines get blurred. And that's why I really have stopped putting out a lot of videos on my reselling channel, because I just don't have time. My business takes up most of my time. And then I started another YouTube channel, a fishing channel, which I'm not going to say the name of it because I'm kind of being secretive about it. And I want to test some stuff and kind of get stuff out there. I just bought a boat, just bought a truck. Because my goal is to fish bass tournaments in my spare time. So like, I just don't have time to like do reselling videos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to you guys in the private hangout and stuff. Like, I hate to knock the reselling community because I'm essentially a part of it, but there's only so much that you can take from bolos and, and what sold videos and stuff like that. There's only so much that you can take of it before it's just like, I can't watch anymore. And the only people that I still watch are, like whenever you produce a video and John, I still watch him because I essentially watch the core people that I'm friends with, just out of support, not because I want to learn anything, just for the support aspect, because, I know my lane, and I know where I'm at in the reselling game is where I want to stay at. Except I want to build it. I want to build it more like I've told you guys, I want to build a website, and I want to go to my own website instead of being focused on eBay and, stuff like that. For me, that's what's my goal. And it took me a long time to figure that goal out because, just like you, I sold on eBay for years, just here and there. And then when I moved back to Missouri, I would say it was probably about 3 years ago, I started getting, pretty heavy into, selling and whatnot. And I was just like, I actually enjoy this. It's fun. It's something that me and my grandfather and my dad could do, because that's where I started it at, because it was like, little backstory, me and my old man, we had a little falling out for 4 or 5 years. And, so I didn't see my grandfather or my dad for 4 or 5 years, didn't really talk to him. And then when I moved back to Missouri, that was the outlet that I knew that I could get back in and be like, hey, grandpa, hey, dad, let's go to some auctions. Let's do this. Let's sell here. And, that's what brought me into the whole reselling game again. And then I found out, I was just like, man, I really like to do this, and then I sold on eBay for a good while. And then just over the last year and a half, maybe, I jumped over to Etsy. A lot of people are like, why do you do that? And
I think I was one of those people.
Oh yeah. But one of the reasons I did that is I knew it was going to be a lot harder. Like I knew I could sell and make bank on eBay. I knew I could do that with the stuff that I sell, but it was more so the reason I did it is because on Etsy, you're able to attach a website to it. So that gave me that building block to be able to eventually down the road, whenever I make it self-sufficient, because right now it's just kind of like I said, fun money. I'm not making tons and tons of money, but I can see the potential in it. And my ultimate goal is, 2, 3, maybe 4 years down the road, when I'm ever to make, I don't know, who knows, it could blow up tomorrow, and you don't really know. Like my store over there could blow up tomorrow. I don't know, and make it could be sufficient tomorrow. Like I said, I don't know, but my long-term goal on it is 2, maybe 3 years down the road, and it being sufficient to where I can take that step back from the restaurant gig, get a little bit less hours there, put more time into that, and also put more time into the podcast stuff, because I like, me, dude, I like to fucking talk to people.
Yeah, well, and the podcast, like I mean, I haven't listened to any of the episodes yet, but I would watch your other videos. I just haven't had time. But
yeah.
Like if I'm in the van driving, a long distance, like I would always put like one of your videos on or one of John's videos, because you guys are my friends, so I'm still going to support you. But realistically, I haven't watched a reselling video in 2 months.
Oh yeah,
no one's video.
Yeah, I haven't. Besides John, John's the only person that I've watched really.
Well, and that's just me, like, taking a step back from reselling YouTube, because I realize I can't run my business and do everything I want to do. I can't. I'm only one person. I just can't do it. And so I had to figure out, okay, what do I need to eliminate from here? And YouTube for reselling was one of those things, because here's why. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm still going to do, like, I actually have it set out that me and Barry Thrifty Santa, we're going to do an auction every Monday night. And that's me liquidating my eBay inventory. So that way, most of it's going to be liquidated and gone. It's a lot of good stuff. Right. But I want to really focus more on Amazon, and I'm still going to list on eBay, but I'm not going to list an item if it's below $50.
Okay. I can see that.
$50 and up, I'm listing it. But if it's not, I'm not going to list it, and I'm not going to buy it. And I haven't yard sold at all. I haven't done anything because Amazon's just been so busy.
Mhm.
But I was like every other reseller. Like I just did this on the side, and I seen the potential, and I just jumped on it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people don't realize that YouTube is, man, it's a job within itself. Like creating the videos, because you got to get B-roll, you got to talk, you got to make sure everything's good. You got to edit videos. Like it is a job in itself. And hell, just with this podcast alone, I recorded 5 episodes already. And I've edited 3. This will be my 6th. Your episode will be my 6th one with the new audio platform, audio style. And man, like I had to take a step back from posting, listing and doing stuff on the store, on the website. By the way, www.jaysinstatic.com. Everybody go out there and check it out. I had to take a step back from that to get all of this stuff started because it's something that I've been wanting to do for hell. I mean, for months now. You in the private chat, you guys heard me talk about, oh yeah, I'm gonna start it back up. I'm gonna start back up. I got a new idea. I got new plans, and this was a plan and idea that I had, and it's I'd be able to do a lot more and do a lot better for myself whenever I get that ball rolling. So I pre-recorded 5 episodes. And every night that I get off of work, I come home and I edit those 5 episodes so I can put them up the next day. And it is a grind just to do that, you guys. It's a grind. And if you're not fully dedicated to it, you can become pretty swamped behind it.
No, absolutely. Sorry, I was replying to an email there. No, absolutely. And I agree. And I was, listening, and how do I explain this? Sorry, hold on.
What a noob.
All right, 1 second. Hold on.
All right, guys. He had to take a phone call in the middle of a podcast. He had to take a phone call. What the hell? But anyways, guys, like I was saying, it's a real mindset change whenever you do something inside of YouTube or on the reselling game. It takes up so much of your time, so it's hard to be dedicated to one side or one more than the other. You have some people that are in the reselling game that are just strictly YouTubers, and I'll say that I don't have no. You know me, like I'm gonna say what I want to say. You have people that are just strictly YouTubers. They're doing it to be YouTubers. They're not doing it to be actual resellers, and that's cool. If that's their lane that they want to go in, that's cool. I'm not gonna knock them for it. Get your money. I'm cool with that. But then there's actual people that are in the that are in the game that want to do the reselling business, but just want to put out content here and there. And you got to be able to differentiate what's good for you and what's not good for you. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped and I took a step back from creating a lot of content on YouTube, because being able to do live streams every week, working 40 hours, 40 to 50 hours a week in my day job plus reselling, like the amount of time that just gets zipped out of existence by constantly doing stuff like that, it's pretty crazy. And it's pretty crazy when you get down to it, the amount of time that gets spent sitting in front of a computer, whether it be editing video, sitting, listing and whatnot. It's just super, super crazy, guys. The man never stops. You see, guys, this is what happens. I try to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, and he has to take a phone call because he's a businessman and he's got a lot of shit going on in his life. The hustle never stops, guys. The hustle never stops. I guess that's why they call him the rise and grind picker. Like right now, you guys can't see this because you're listening to the audio version. But if you guys didn't know, I record these in video, and I'm sitting here right now. I'm watching the man at work. He's on the phone talking to somebody. I don't know who he's talking to. Maybe we'll find out who he's talking to. I'll ask him. I'll ask him for you guys, because I know that you're wanting to know who he's talking to. But even in the middle of a podcast, the man ain't got time. The man ain't got time to sit and talk. He's still got to do business, and that's cool. I respect that hustle. But as you guys, like I just said, He's talking to somebody. He's looking at his phone right now as he's talking. He might be on FaceTime. I don't know. He could be on FaceTime. Possibly. Maybe. This will make for a funny ass segment. Oh, okay. He just put the phone back to his ear. Still talking. What's going on? I wish I knew how to read lips, guys. I would say back what he was saying, but I'm not a very good lip reader. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm trying, guys. His beard is so wild, like I can't hardly see his lips. You ever see the Rise and Grind Picker's beard? Go to his Facebook page, man. He posted a picture the other day, and the beard looked like it would grab little babies and shake them. That's how wild his beard looked. I was just like, man, Shane, you got to have some beard maintenance, man. Beard maintenance, man. It's very, very important to have beard maintenance. If you don't maintenance your beard, like that thing will get crazy and out of control, and it might grab on the little kids and little puppies and shake them. It's potential. The potential is there, guys. The potential is always there.
All right. So I apologize for that. That was actually an Amazon customer wanting to know how to return something. So,
it's all right. I made fun of you and I tried to read your lips and
yeah. So that Amazon customer bought a doll, FBA fulfilled by Amazon, and obviously my phone number is on my business site on Amazon for any kind of customers I want to call it. And I usually don't have customers call, but this one did. And he was like, I really don't want to return it, but the doll's a different color. And I'm like, well, it's actually comes with a scooter, but the dolls are assorted. So, and it says bonus surprise doll. And he's like, well, can I return it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So, he wanted to talk about how the picture sucked. And I'm like, well, I don't make the pictures. I didn't make the listing. So,
right. Well, that's what I told the people. I go, I kind of riffed on you a little bit. And I was just like, well, even in the middle of a podcast, he's working. That I guess that's why they call him the Rise and Grind Picker, because even in the middle of doing a podcast where he's supposed to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, he's got to take time out of that conversation to have a conversation with somebody else. But that's the whole concept of not having enough time in the day, like I just said about creating videos and editing audio and reselling and real life and stuff like that. The amount of time in a day, it just goes like that because you essentially you don't have enough time in the day to do everything all at one time.
Oh, absolutely. And like for me, dude, I'm so busy. Like I can't. Like when people say, oh yeah, you say you're busy. No, I mean, I'm running like from 7:30 a.m. till like 9 at night, nonstop. I don't stop. And now there will be days that I'm not so busy, and I'll take off at noon and go fishing, or I'll take off at 3 o'clock and go fishing, or I'll take the whole day off. But, I get like maybe one of those a week. And most of the time I work on the weekends. 99% of the time I work every weekend.
Right.
And that's where so here's the thing. Okay. So, and I'm going to get real with what I say here. This is going to be like slap you in the face real, slap your mama real. So
don't talk about my mom, Shane. We had that beef once. We had that beef already.
Mom, but like the people listening, what I mean.
We had that beef already, Shane. You don't.
So this is going to be real, right?
Okay, go ahead.
And the real thing is, so I had someone. I'm not going to mention any YouTuber names. I seen a video like 4 or 5 months ago on a pretty fairly large YouTube channel on reselling, and they said, if you treat this like a job, you're losing because you left the job to do this. That is wrong. If you don't treat this like a job, you are not going to make a living. So in order to really be successful at reselling, you have to treat this like a job. I keep a calendar and I schedule everything in the calendar on my phone every day. I had this scheduled when it popped up at noon. It was 11:45. I knew exactly where I had to be, and I schedule out everything on my calendar. I have to. If I don't, I won't ever remember because I do so many things during the day. I mean, I have trucks dropping off pallets. I have like this morning, I have 3 pallets. It's 8 foot tall sitting on my driveway. After the podcast, I'm gonna go break them down, bring them in my house, and start sending them into Amazon.
Yeah.
But I have to treat it like a job.
Right. Well, I mean, when you talk about notes or calendars, like
yes,
that's my calendar right now. For the people on the podcast, what I'm holding up my phone and I'm showing Shane the calendar that I have. As soon as I get off this podcast with you, I'm jumping on another one right around 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I believe, with the Bearded Picker, and then tomorrow I got another one. I just booked I have another one, Fat Man the Flipper. And then I booked 6 more last night, you know, for the next for next Wednesday and Thursday. I'm booked completely up. You know, I'm going to be trying to do all my videos. I'm going to try to record Wednesdays and Thursdays. That way I could at least get 4 episodes, and that way I have an entire month worth of episodes.
Well, and you don't want to do it every day because then you don't want to like burn yourself out. But like, dude, my calendar has my chiropractor appointments in it, has everything. Like I live by my calendar. If I lost my phone, I'd be totally screwed.
Yeah. Maybe you need to get an actual calendar.
No,
write it on there.
On your phone is amazing. I always have my phone with me, but I'd probably lose an actual calendar, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, you could put it up on the wall back there somewhere, you know, because I got one over here. I got one right here, like, well, yeah, right here. Big giant wall. It's just a big whiteboard. It's essentially from floor to ceiling, and I write everything down there. I have it on there, and then I have it on my phone too, because if I'm at the house, I don't always have my phone right next to me when I'm in the house, you know, but most of the time I'm sitting in the office here, and the big whiteboard's always there. So all I got to do is look and be like, oh, okay, I got to talk to this person, this person, this person.
Well, so, and you can tell I always have my phone with me in the house.
Yeah, so. You always have your phone with you, but everywhere. Like you said, if you lose it, you're going to need to have it, because you might want to get you a whiteboard, Shane. That's a tip for you. And get a whiteboard.
Maybe we'll see.
Get a whiteboard.
Unfortunately,
that's not racist.
I don't have anywhere to put a whiteboard, and if I put it upstairs, kids go by and erase everything. You know, so
put it under lock and key. I have the luxury of not having kids, so
yeah,
my board just stays up there until I erase it.
That would be handy. I mean, honestly, but with kids and dogs, and I mean, we just have a crazy life here on top of everything else. You know, it's like I just never stop, and I feel like, you know, I'm adding, you know, fishing to it, because I mean, this is honestly my dream at 5 years old was to go fish in fishing tournaments, bass fishing tournaments, and see where it went. And like I know a lot about fishing. I've been fishing my whole life, and so now I got this boat, and I'm going to be fishing in some local bass tournaments, and then up to maybe even some regional bass tournaments, and to see where it goes.
Do you have anything else that you enjoy doing that's not reselling besides like fishing?
So, I mean, I love spending time with like my family and dogs. So we got a Great Dane and 2 pit bulls, and we take them to the dog park all the time. You know, I travel a lot for my job, but I do love traveling. Like traveling is like my one of my favorite things to do. And like in July, I just booked it. I'm going on a fishing trip for like 9 days in Minnesota. Ooh. So
hope it's not in the Minneapolis area.
It is not. And I am taking my concealed carry next week. So
yeah. So we kind of dove into the whole, you know, we're not going to get too deep into the Minneapolis thing. I've talked about it a bunch already. But before that, we had the whole COVID stuff happening. How did that affect what you do besides, you know, sourcing and whatnot? Did that really affect your businesses at all?
The sourcing, it didn't affect, because I lived my normal life, and I really, after like the first week, I'm like, I don't even care anymore. Like, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. If I'm not, I'm not. But it affected my business tremendously, because Amazon shut down. So it was like kind of shut down. Like they were doing merchant fulfill only. I had like 20 grand in inventory in the Amazon warehouses that wasn't being sold.
Right.
I had about $5,000 in items they weren't shipping. And I was like, wow, you can't send shipments in FBA. If you weren't merchant fulfilling, you were kind of screwed. So towards the end, I started merchant fulfilling, but now my sales have rebounded. But I lost about $100,000 in sales. I lost a lot of sales. A lot.
That's hard.
And I was doing eBay more. But even I was selling at some weeks $2,000 a week on eBay, but it's kind of hard to go from selling 50 to 55,000 to 60,000 a month, and then 2,000 a week.
Yeah,
like it's really hard to do that, and eBay is really hard. Like it's really hard to sell $50,000 to $60,000 a month on eBay.
Right now, we're gonna kind of I wanna break open something a little bit. You said 50,000. And I think this is something I think it's going to be interesting for people to listen to if they get this far into the podcast. When you say 50,000 a month, and this is what a lot of YouTubers do and a lot of resellers do. They go, I did 150,000, I did 1 million, and I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 50G a full take home, or is, like I said, a lot of the fluff that you see on YouTube is,
yep.
Oh, I did 50 G's. Well, no, not really. You didn't do that much. What is say, just a rough estimate, if you did 50 G's, what would be your take home, give or take, from past, months and stuff like that? What would be your take home from something like that?
So I usually run anywhere from about a 30 to 50% profit margin. So, when I say 50 G's, I mean like total sales. But see, don't get it twisted, because there's a lot of people on YouTube that do say, oh, I did 55,000. Well, you're not really doing 55,000. You're doing 55,000 in sales, but not take home. So, to kind of put it in perspective, my biggest 2-week check. So Amazon pays you over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest payout on Amazon for a 2-week period was $28,000.
Okay. So for 2 weeks. Okay, cool.
So, roughly like the margins every month really fluctuate, because you're going into different products. You're diving in different rabbit holes, like pretty much every day.
Mm-hmm.
And a product one day will be really bad 2 days from now. So, you might I try to average about a 50% margin, and I have averaged most months around a 45 to 50% margin. But there are some months that's like 30, and that's a bad month.
Yeah. Okay. You have anything else you want to talk? You have anything you want to talk about? Anything like that? I mean, what's your? You said that you started the fishing thing. I know that I'm not gonna say your name or anything like that, but what's your goal for that?
So my goal for that is to grow the biggest channel I can. And because I love fishing, I love the outdoors, and why I want to do that, and why I kind of switched a couple different reasons. I don't have time, like we said, for everything, right?
Mm.
And reselling, the audience on YouTube, you have a cap. You can only go so far, and then you're capped out, and you're just picking up some subscribers here and there. And if that's why you see all these channels on YouTube and reselling that's like 100, 150,000, 200,000, but they're getting 20 to 30,000 views. That's it.
Right.
But for fishing, like, that's truly my passion. And so in order for me to make videos almost on the daily, I have to be passionate about it. Yeah. And fishing and outdoors and hunting and shooting guns, and that is like an uncapped potential. Like, you can get as many subscribers as you can go, because you're not really niching out. It's more like it's outdoors and tons of people. You can do so many different videos. It's like kind of beyond fishing. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's something that I noticed in the reselling community, like off the jump, as soon as I dove into it and I started looking at it, and I was just like, okay, there's really good potential here to grow something. But it's one of those waves that comes through YouTube, where it's real hot for a minute, and then eventually it's going to cap off, and then everybody is essentially going to be stuck where they're stuck at, and that's cool. But the whole point of YouTube is, in my opinion, and I told you guys this hundreds and hundreds of times, like,
yeah.
It's good to grow in a community, around a bigger base of community, but you need to always look outside of that community to try to bring more people into your own little personal community, because like I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. People talk about, reseller community, and there's the rifts between, resellers and the community and stuff like that. And it's just like, I never really cared for the community as a whole. all I cared about is the community that I'm trying to grow myself.
Mm.
You
Well,
know,
and
granted, I did take, I did siphon, people away, but I'm trying to build something outside of the community,
mhm.
Because I like you, I have a lot of different views and things that I like to do where, I like to talk about wrestling a lot. And while reselling community might not be filled with wrestling fans, I still have my core group that I can talk wrestling with. I have guys that I can talk reselling with. I have guys that I can talk politics with. And that's the kind of community that I'm trying to grow, is because I'm looking in different avenues to try to create one big community, which is, the static land movement.
Well, and you should. Like, that's your vision. That's your goal. And for me, my goal on my reselling channel was to meet like-minded people. So here's the problem. I got really influctuated with the money on YouTube and this, and I forgot about my goal. And that was to meet people. And I already had met people. Like, I talked to you and John and our little group that we talked to in a private chat almost every night. So it's like, why do I need to meet other people? Why do I need to do this? I don't. I'm not passionate about videos and reselling anymore, because now it's a job. Let's face it. And even if fishing was a job, don't get me wrong, I'd still be passionate about videos because I love to fish. Right. I don't love to work my butt off 18 hours a day. I just don't. And so for me, I stepped away, and like I said, me and Barry are going to do an auction show starting next Monday, every Monday, to kind of sell eBay inventory and give people a chance to buy some really cool stuff. But I don't regret what I did with my Rising Grind Picker channel. It was a really kind of weird kind of thing. But the other thing is I dislike, and when I say this, it's not everybody, I dislike the reselling community. The reason I dislike it is there's too many people waiting in line to stab you in the back. There's too many people that want to start drama. And it's like, I'm just going to eliminate myself from all of that. And in the fishing community, that don't happen. Like, you can say, go buy this app and I'm going to get a cut of it, and people don't want to kill you. In reselling, you say, go buy this app, I get a 20% commission, and you're the most horrible YouTuber in the world.
Right. And that's one thing that when the big rift, I call it the big divide, secretly to me, because at one point in time, the reselling community was kind of like all cool with each other. Everybody talked to each other. And then there became this big rift in the community as a whole. And I was just like, I just sat there for a second. I was just like, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. Granted, I partook in some of the beefing, and I don't apologize for that, because it was fun to me, because like I said, I was never really in the community to begin with.
And it was true. So,
and everything that I was doing, I was doing it out of fun, because hell, I'm a fucking troll for the most part. I like to get people's goats sometimes. And I'm kind of the edgy guy, and I like to say weird things sometimes. So everything that I said, and like, I didn't actually care. I just did it out of fun, because it was fun and it amused my core group of people.
Right.
And but that's when I realized all of this before the riff even happened, and I was just like, okay. But and I think you get that in the reselling community in general, because because what you just said, it's a business overall. And then they want to act like it's not a business, but then it is a business. And you're taking from people, and then this and this, and then it was just really weird, the whole thing. Like, some people were cool, some people were okay to have Patreon, some people were okay to not have it, and it was just like the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. Nobody in any YouTube community that I've seen or been in has ever had a problem with Patreon or anything like that. Not one. And I'm in a ton of different YouTube communities. I'm in the political spectrum. I'm in the Minecraft spectrum. I'm in the wrestling communities. I'm in the reaction communities. And none of these communities that I'm in, none of them, not one of them, have a problem with any type of Patreon. It's something that you can give to your fans, because essentially your fans are watching you. Like me and you've had it out numerous times in the private chats about, you know, are you building a community around you? Or are you building it for what you do? You know, because overall what you need to focus on, and some of the biggest YouTubers that are out there, they had their niche, but eventually they got away from it because they built their community and now it's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can happen even at the beginning of it. It's just, you got to be very, you gotta watch where you go at, and you got to watch how you move up.
Yeah, YouTube is very calculated. Like, you have to really like make a plan. And that's something when I started my channel, I didn't think that I would almost be at 30,000 subscribers. That never crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought a webcam and wanted to connect with people. And then I kind of took it a different direction. And then I'm like, well, what if I don't like doing this anymore on YouTube? Like, what if I love selling myself? And you got people out there on YouTube that are pushing Amazon stuff, and they're pushing Amazon, classes and courses, and they don't even have a single item on Amazon. And when your channel grows and reselling, all these people just want to leech onto you and, use you to promote something and then screw you over, use you to promote their course and screw you over. Like, they just want to leech onto you. And when I noticed that, I'm like, and I still get 10 to 12 people, like businesses, wanting for me to promote something for them every week.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a guy yesterday email me 3 times and I didn't even respond. And he's a marketer and he wants to build an Amazon course with me and sell it. And I completely just didn't even respond because I'm not interested.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like with the podcast thing. The new platform that I'm on, Podbean, they allow Patreon for people, because they have monetization and stuff like that, but they also have, if you want to do crowdsourcing or crowdfunding type stuff, they have the Patreon over there. And I'm thinking about doing it. I don't know if I'm going to do it right away, because I want to kind of build it up a little bit before I'm like, hey guys, come check this out, give me this. And I think that's a good way to do it, is, try to build it up a little bit instead of just right out the bat, just be like, give me this money, guys.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I did. I mean, I took my time with my YouTube channel and I got really lucky on a video and it kind of went semi-viral, a couple 100,000 views, and I got like 6,000 or 7,000 subs from it. And it was all luck. Like, YouTube is a lot of luck and a lot of calculation. Like, you calculate the title and the thumbnail, but whether it gets views or not is just a lucky stroke of whenever you upload it, how many people view it, how many people share it.
Oh yeah. And it's essentially that's life in general. Is, life is a luck chance. Some people get it, some people don't.
Well, and see, I kind of believe in that, but I believe you can make it yourself. Like,
yeah.
And here's the thing, like, I was never brought up with a gold or silver spoon in my mouth. My parents were super poor. My mom worked 2 full-time jobs when I was a kid growing up. Never seen my parents much because they were working all the time because we didn't have money. Like, my parents paid, I think, $13,000 for their house they still live in. Now they remodeled it and stuff over the years. But when I was a kid, we just didn't have money. Like, my dad would go hunting and that's what we'd have for supper that night.
Mm-hmm.
And so people, when you see someone doing really well, and a lot of people say, well, they just got lucky. Or, I mean, that's the thing, is I struggled with money, with finances, and I still do, but a lot less. But I really struggled. I mean, I was, a father at a really early age. I bought my first house at 20 years old. And I was like riding the struggle bus, dude, for a long time. And then I started figuring it out, kind of, I mean, of where I belong, what I need to do, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that I was saying, I realize, hard work and determination, you can get there, but
Well, let me say this though.
You got to make your own way, but
there's luck by chance of if you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. That's what I was meaning. Yeah.
And you're totally right, dude. Like there totally is. Like you could be walking down the street static tomorrow, and all of a sudden some person approaches you and wants to give you a 6-figure a year job because they liked you at a restaurant they ate at.
Right. Yeah, and I'd probably turn them down.
Yeah, but that stuff happens.
It's a lot by chance, like right place, right time. It's kind of like wrestling, man. You got guys that grind for years and years and years and years and decades and never get a shot, and then just one by happenstance, you might they might get seen at a show or at a gym and something like that, or because there's scouts everywhere, for big major companies, there's scouts everywhere, and they might be like, oh, this kid, he's kind of got a good look. Funny story. I used to work for this company over in Illinois. We can talk about Illinois because I know that you have some issues with Illinois, so we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I used to work for a company over in Illinois, and Harley Race was a big time wrestler, in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. He had a school down in Eldon, Missouri. Well, he was good friends with promoter over in Illinois that I worked with, and he was coming up for the show because he was scouting somebody to potentially bring down there. And I just so happened to be working the guy that night who was getting scouted. Granted, I didn't get picked up, and that's cool, but I did have Harley Race tell me that I did a really good job and just to keep working at it and keep grinding. So my luck wasn't good there that night, but he did tell me that I did a great job and to keep working hard and maybe one day to happen.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing that you have to understand is, there are times where, you luck out on stuff, but there's a lot of times where what have you done to put yourself in that position to get lucky?
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people don't understand is you gotta constantly be trying to put yourself into positions to where your luck might be a little bit better, or stuff that might help you get further in life, because like just constantly doing the same grind over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then never trying to make anything better in your life, but then at the same time constantly complaining and bitching that your life sucks. You're not putting yourself, you're just doing the same thing every single day and you're expecting a different outcome.
Well, and here's the difference between me and most people. And I'm going to just tell you this. This is the real shit. I bought a $9,000 bass boat in cash to go to bass tournaments I don't even know if I'm going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this? Is because I have confidence in myself that if I don't win, I will figure out how to.
Right.
And I will grind on that until I figure it out. Just like my YouTube channel. You hear people starting 6, 7, 8, and 9 YouTube channels trying to make it, and finally they get lucky on one.
Mm-hmm.
My Rise and Grind Picker YouTube channel was the only YouTube channel I had ever had.
Right.
Ever. I started it and I didn't stop until I made it work.
Right.
Just like with this fishing YouTube channel. I'm not going to stop until I can make it work. One way or another, I'm going to make it work. And so I think that's where a lot of people, they just give up too soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If they're not successful within a week, they just give up.
Yeah.
Dude, it took me a year to hit 1,000 subscribers. 1 year.
Yeah.
Most people now starting YouTube are hitting 1,000 subscribers in 4 months.
Yeah.
And then they stop and they plateau, and then they get sick of it and they quit in 2 months.
Yeah.
It took me a year.
Yeah. Oh, hell. I mean, I've had my YouTube channel for, I would say probably 6+ years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only sitting at 1,050. And there's people that I remember that, coming in, that had 300 subs, and they're sitting at high thousands, high 2000s now. And I never really cared, but I also realized that the game that I'm in is, they're creating the reselling content, and I'm creating a whole different type of content, and the type of content that I produce is going to hinder me a lot in growth. And that's something that I've known from the jump. And I never denied that, I think the only reason that I got to 1,000 is because I connected myself with, guys like you, John, and you guys with your guys' communities that you built helped push me over that mark. And while I haven't reached anything past that mark, I've maintained it.
You have, and you've grown a little bit, but you got to understand also, like, you weren't always like,
I'm not the most steady guy on the platform.
That's what I mean. Like, you weren't always like consistent. You weren't always like, and what I've learned starting, I mean, just like 2 weeks ago, Static, starting, or maybe a month ago, a channel from scratch is my first 6 videos. I got almost 2,000 watch minutes. Okay. And then I stopped doing videos every day. I did 1 week of daily videos, and the channel went poof and like started getting all these views. And then I didn't do videos for like a week, and then it was like, so now I'm like, okay, well, consistency is key, obviously, Oh
yeah. Anytime you're building anything, and that's something that I realized, it's not like I'm not like upset that my channel hasn't grown. And now I realize that my channel hasn't grown is because I wasn't steadily putting stuff out. But that goes back to the not having enough time in the day to sit there and produce content. And I'm the type of guy that, like, I got to care about the content that I produce. I can't just produce it to, produce it, I'm not just, I don't know, like, I'm just not one of those guys that can produce stuff on a whim. It's stuff that I've actually got to think about. And like a lot of the videos I've made, riffing on politicians and stuff like that. And, other people in the reselling community, that's stuff all that happened on a whim.
Yep.
And that's kind of the way my whole life has been, is I just do things on a whim. But the steadiness of my grind, like I'm still constantly working behind scenes, doing stuff and thinking about new things. And the new thing that I came up with is the whole podcast, doing it this way, because I can do more in small amounts of time and have that consistency. I might not be putting out stuff every day, because I'll tell you what, doing 5 podcasts a week, I'm just posted number 3. That is a fucking grind. Editing 2-hour, 3-hour fucking podcast. That's a fucking grind. And that's not something that I can sustain right now, especially seeing that it's just me,
Well, and you work at a restaurant, and you're working probably 50, 60-hour weeks. You're reselling on Etsy. So you're trying to get stuff up. You're trying to make money on that. And then you're doing this. And that's why I kind of stepped away from my reselling channel. And I'm going to do like an auction once a week, is because it's the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, you guys kind of riffed on me in the private hangouts, Jaysin, you got to do more. You got to do this. If you want to be successful on YouTube, you got to do this. And I'm just like, man, guys, I don't have the time. And you're like, you got to make the time, guy. You got to make the time. And I'm just like, man, I don't got it. I'm sorry. I can't do it. So while you guys were all sitting there, hassling me and busting my balls about it, I'm sitting here behind the scenes like, oh man, I know I need to do this and I want to do it. I just need to formulate a plan to be able to get that steadiness. So like I said, and I've said it a couple times now, the steadiness is going to be this podcast, and this is the way the podcast is going to be. And what I'm going for, like right now, I'm dropping 1 every day of the week. I still got 2 more dropped this week. No shows on Saturdays, and no shows are going to be done on Saturday and Sunday. But for the rest of this week, this is going to be posted later on. So the people listening to this now, you would have already seen this process play out, because this is probably going to be posted later in the month. But I went from 5. This is the first week that I started the podcast, the way that I'm doing it now, in 5 every day or 5 this week. And then next week it might go to 2. maybe one or two, depending on how much time I got. And like I said, I've got a backlog of 6 already. That's not counting the ones that I'm going to be recording this week.
So you're pretty set.
So I'm pretty like I have enough content to push out one video a week.
That's awesome, man.
And maybe and have enough for, if I do one video a week, I'll have enough for 3 months. But if I do 2 a week, I might have enough for a month and a half.
Nice.
I haven't figured out how I want to do that, when I want to do that, what's going to be the best day to do it. That's kind of why I'm, doing the whole thing I am now, five this week, to see what days do the best.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's a grind to build something and whatnot.
Absolutely, man.
Do you have any higher aspirations than just eBay and Amazon and bass fishing? Do you have anything higher than that?
I don't think so, man. Like, I think that build my business eventually, like I want to get into a warehouse. I think that's probably the next step, is get into a warehouse, hire some employees, but that's down the road. I think that this year I'll probably end up filing my S Corp stuff to become an S Corp. Maybe in a couple years to next year, maybe a warehouse. And then realistically, it's just trying to fish into a lot of bass tournaments. And, honestly, like, there's bass tournaments out there where if you win them, you can win up to $1 million. So, I mean, for me, if I won a big bass tournament like that, I'd probably still resell on Amazon, and just maybe not as much.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't have to grind as hard, and I think that's kind of the goal of everybody in society, is to try to get as much as you can, and that way you're set and you can just live life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It gets a bad riff nowadays. People being wealthy and being able to do their own thing. But I think that's essentially the dream of everybody, is to have enough to where, you don't have to struggle and worry.
Absolutely, man. And that's my goal, is, to set my family up and, my daughter up, she's 11, and all this, to where none of us have to worry. And I think that's the best way to take it. Now, you can do that on eBay. You can do that on Etsy. You can do that on any site. I mean, there's $1 million sellers on eBay. There's $10 million sellers on eBay.
There's $1 million sellers on that. I have this website that I look at, eRank. It's particularly, centered towards Etsy, and there's people that sell 3,000 items a day on that platform. And I mean, granted, I don't look into their analytics and everything, which I could if I wanted to. I don't really look into their analytics, so I don't know what they're actually selling. I don't know what the price of any of the stuff. Some of them I do, but just the fact that somebody's selling 3,000 items a day is kind of mind blowing. Like, even if that's $5, that's still a good chunk of change for just one day.
Absolutely.
And you think of $5 at 3,000 items at $5 a piece. That's quite a bit of money, and you do that daily.
Yep. That's
a lot of bread during the week. That's a lot of bread in 1 week.
Doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up to be a lot.
Oh yeah. And I mean, just it's all about mindset and grind. Like, the rise and grind. You gotta hustle and you gotta grind. If you want to get somewhere in life, you've literally got to, I said it before, and you'll probably hear me say this 100,000 more times. So I hope you guys don't get tired of hearing me say this. If you want something in your life, no matter what it is, whether you want to be a professional reseller and build a big, giant, multi-billion-dollar business, whether you want to be a fucking YouTuber, whether you want to be a Twitch person, whether you want to start a podcast or a fucking fish and bass tournaments, or be a professional wrestler, whatever it is that you want to do in your life, you've got to wake up every morning ready to fight for that day and that day alone. And then when you wake up the next morning, you fight for that day, because you never know what's going to happen from day to day. You might get knocked to the canvas that day. and lose your ass, or you just got to be able to fight, and you got to be able to want to fight. And if you don't want to fight, that's cool. But if you want to do something with yourself in life, you got to wake up every day and fight for it.
Well, and I know you have to get going, Static, so I'll leave some like kind of final parting words. And here's the thing, and let me kind of word this right so people understand. The more you wait to do something, the more you're not going to do it. And when you hit 60 or 65 or 70 and you look back and say, I wish I would have done it. Well, when your time's out, it's out. And when you have regrets, that's probably one of the worst feelings in the world. That's why I wake up every morning and I want to make sure that I don't have any regrets. Like, I want to live life to the fullest, do whatever I want, work hard, and then also make sure that I'm not going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have done that or tried to do that, because you never know.
Yeah. And hell, that's one thing that you made a really good point, like, you don't want to look back when you're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old and be like, man, why didn't I do that? And I feel that because I'm 38 and I waited until my mid 20s to start doing shit that I wanted to do. Who knows where I could have been at if I started in my 20s, my early 20s, but I didn't have that motivation. I didn't have the mindset, right? And it wasn't until late 20s to where I was like, man, what the fuck am I doing? I got to start doing something, fuck it. I'm just going to, and that's when I started the pro wrestling game. It's something that I always wanted to do since I was a little itty bitty kid. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to try it. Let's do it. I went out, did it. Cool. Had a great time. I had a blast doing it. It didn't work out for me, not because I wasn't good or anything like that. I did fairly well. It was just a lot of my mindset wasn't right at the time, and getting deep into depression and shit like that. That's what pulled me away from it. And then when I was dealing with all that depression and everything like that, it made me realize that it's not where I wanted to be at in my life at that moment in time. I realized that I needed to start doing something else. And it's been a grind. Like I said, it's been a rise and grind ever since then. You like how I segued that? But guys, I can't say it enough, you guys. If you want something in life, you got to fucking go for it. Wake up every fucking morning, put on your fucking boxing mitts, and be ready to fucking fight that asshole in life, whether it's you or somebody that's opposing you. And you just got to fight, guys. Shane, you have anything that you want to plug? Anything?
Auction next Monday night on my channel. Be me and Barry Thrifty Santa. And other than that, man, I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully someone can get something out of this today.
Yeah. If you get anything out of it, get this. Shane, he was an asshole and he took a call in the middle of the podcast. But what he was really doing when he took that call, being an asshole in the middle of the podcast, he was grinding. Right. He was working. And I respect that hustle and I respect that grind. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I thank you guys for stopping by. And if you guys haven't already, maybe go throw some likes to Shane on his channel, since he's given up on Rise and Grind Picker.
Not giving up. Auctions.
Yeah, maybe go watch his auctions. He's not really giving up, guys. I'm just bullshitting. But go check out his stuff. I'm not sure when this episode's going to be posted, so you might already be watching. And if you are, cool. And if you haven't watched it and you watched this and you listen to this episode, and you're like, who the fuck is Rise and Grind Picker? Maybe I need to go to his YouTube channel and watch his fucking auctions. Hopefully by the time I put out this episode, he will still be doing the auctions. I don't know. Well, I'll just have to wait and see. But until then, much love. Peace out, you bunch of assholes. Take care. Bye.
Peace out.
Where's my stop button? Damn it, where's my